So we've got the new Final Destination movie, and I'm going to talk about it. I watched all of the Final Destination movies before this new one just recently, so I have them all really fresh in the mind, and I gotta admit, they are all really fun and enjoyable rides with weak to little narrative. This one, in my opinion, has the strongest storyline of them all, and I do find that really interesting, like especially how they do the storyline and how they set up the deaths. Like many Final Destination movies, this movie starts off with an epic catastrophe that then is prevented by our protagonist, although the twist in this one is that our main protagonist isn't the one who prevented the catastrophe. It is 2 generations later, the granddaughter. So that is really interesting, and it makes a really interesting twist to the Final Destination structure in how it's always event happens, they all die. Person who saw all the events happening and prevents the deaths then proceeds to just everyone who was saved dies off slowly in the order that they were killed in the accident. And now, like, what makes this super interesting is how they twist that in this film. And I'm not going to go into very specific details right now, but I'll get into them later in a little bit of spoiler corner, because I do think that this movie, you do need to talk a few spoilers to get to the meat and bones of what makes this movie work and what doesn't. But it's really well put together, and I really do like especially the kills in this movie. It's very interesting in how they're like very unique and crazy, but not like insanely over the top crazy, which it finds that nice little in between balance Goldilocks spot, and it stays there the whole movie, and it's really interesting, and I really do enjoy it. So I'm going to give a hand grenade score here for the story, because I do think that this storyline is really interesting, and I do like how most Final Destination movies always come close circle and go full circle and close the loop, and henceforth starts the loop. Like, pretty much how the movie starts is how the movie ends, and I do really enjoy that. It's always nice. Cinematics, I do think visually speaking, this is one of the stronger entries, but I must admit that elements of it, I do feel like they are cheesy CGI on purpose at points to make it feel surreal, because it really is. And so I do have to admit, I do like the stylistic choice. I am assuming that is why they do it, because it does add its own unique, like, little flavor to it, and it makes the over-the-top kills even more over-the-top, because the visuals are still that of, like, even the most recent installments from 2009 and 11. From 2009 and 2011. It's been 14 years since the last one. It's crazy. And the music choices, great, phenomenal. There are some needle drops that were really funny. I just kind of do wonder when that original set piece takes place. But that's about it. But other than that, I do really like all of the visuals. And like I said, the kills are all fun and unique, but not overtly over the top. Hand grenade score there as well. Directing, I thought this movie was doomed from when I saw the directors and how they did that live action Kim Possible movie, and then I saw not the same writers, so we were clear on that one. But yeah, good time, very well paced for the most part. I do think that they did a good job spreading out the kills and making them all last painfully long, but painfully long in Final Destination with the kills is a good thing. So yeah, solid there. Gonna give it a hand grenade score there. Performances, I do think I really do like Tony Todd in his final role. That was a real cool way for him to have a send-off, especially like just as a whole, like a send-off from the franchise and a send-off performance. Like, that was a really like, that final line actually did kind of send shivers. Like, kind of got goosebumps from it. It's pretty emotional. And it did make me rethink a few things. So, yeah, just pretty good performances for Final Destination other than that. But I just really wanted to emphasize Tony Todd's because it's brief and it does explain a lot of what he's doing in those movies. And I'll get to a bit of a spoiler section later, where I'm going to talk a little bit more about Tony Todd. But yeah, hand grenade score there. So now we're going to get into that spoiler corner where I can get into my expectations and experience, because I can't talk about what made the movie work and what didn't without talking about those spoilers. So I do think that the twist of having the granddaughter have the vision that the grandma had and then like see all the deaths play out and how it was slowly coming after every single person, but since it took so long for them to catch up because there were so many people saved, I find that interesting. But at the same time, in the second movie, which is the one that they reference a lot in this one, they talk about how death doesn't like it when new life comes into play. So technically speaking, the moment the first child, who was not supposed to have been born, was born, that should have broken the loop. But it didn't, even though it was like said that it would, unless the new life was specifically the person dying and then coming back that was supposed to die. And that's what didn't really add up for me, because I thought that it was the point. Like, I'm like, oh, all she has to do is survive 8 months and then boom, movie's over, because she had the baby that wasn't supposed to be alive. But then this movie adds a twist to that and saying that, oh, well, death's just going to come after you anyway. And I thought that was interesting. And then the way it all happens, and how one of the best little twists is how it skips over one of the sons, because it was not the actual guy's son. It was from an affair, and I thought that was pretty interesting. That was a nice little twist to get the whole family in on it. But yeah. And my second thing that I have to talk spoilers for is Tony Todd's character, who was one of the survivors of the tower. And that was actually a cool twist, because this whole time I could have sworn he was the embodiment of death, because he knew way too much. But now it explains why he knew way too much, because death has been coming after him for a while, but it hasn't reached him yet because the person before him hasn't died yet. And I thought that was actually really interesting, because that provides a really cool explanation and a dope backstory for such a ominous figure in the Final Destination movies. So I thought that was really interesting, and I really enjoyed that. And so I was kind of shocked. And then it just led me to some theories where all these major weird freak accidents happened because these people who were descendants of the group that was supposed to die in that big tower survived. And I thought that's how they were going to link all of them together, but they didn't really do that. And I also kind of thought that maybe each member of this family was going to die in one of those major freak accidents that start the movie. That didn't happen either, but it's okay. I can be wrong sometimes, but I did really enjoy how this movie ends. It ends pretty much how it begins, like always in Final Destination, although, whoa, that was crazy. But yeah, that is pretty much all I have to say. This is a certified hand grenade movie. I am willing to rewatch this sooner rather than later, even though some of the moments had me going, oh, and I couldn't watch and had to look away. But that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment down below your thoughts on Final Destination and Bloodlines if you've seen it or if you're now planning on seeing it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and other than that, I'll leave you guys to it.